As we approach the halfway point of the NHL season, today we're going to be making some NHL playoff predictions. I'm going to give you my thoughts on who will make the playoffs from each division, and I'll give you my round-by-round breakdown, including my Stanley Cup winner for 2021. And that's coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. Now, as I mentioned, today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to make some playoff predictions. Now, of course, it's fun to make predictions. I'm not going to proclaim to get these all right. Probably going to get a fair bit of them wrong. It's just for fun. So let me know what your predictions are down in the comments, and we can discuss further. Then, of course, we can come back later and compare notes. I will likely make additional predictions as we approach the playoffs. I'm not sure if I'll do another prediction video outlining who gets in the playoffs, but certainly if I don't, when we reach the point of the playoffs starting, we know officially who is in. I'll definitely be making some predictions once that point of the season is reached for sure. Of course, we did some predictions before the season started as well, which we'll kind of touch on here a little bit throughout this video. Now, we're going to go through this one division at a time, and I'll give you the breakdown here, leading us all the way to the Final Four, because of course we know this year's format's a little bit different. Of course, all teams are only playing games within their division. The top 4 teams in each division qualifies for the playoffs. They then do a 1 versus 4 and a 2 versus 3 format, with then of course 2 teams battling it out for the division win, and then the 4 division winners will then be seeded 1 through 4 for the Final Four towards the Stanley Cup. Let's go down here one division at a time. Let's kick things off with the Canadian North Division. Of course, it's been a very interesting division this year. A lot of offensive firepower. A lot of the top scorers in the league reside in this division. I know some people are not crazy about the style of game or convinced that we could see a lot of playoff success from some of these teams, but I do have a different opinion on that, and I do think the winner from this division is going to stand a chance to do incredibly well. So here are my top 4 picks to make the playoffs in the North. I'm giving the Toronto Maple Leafs the number 1 seed. I think the Leafs right now we're in that spot. Will certainly hang on. They've played way better defensively this year. They've gotten decent goaltending out of a variety of goaltenders when they've needed it. And of course, the offensive firepower is one of the tops in the league. Austin Matthews well on his way to be a contender, likely win the Rocket Richard Trophy, which is something I talked about in my prediction video ahead of the NHL season starting. I did predict Matthews would win that award. So hopefully, for his sake, that prediction comes true. And of course, that's great and will help the Maple Leafs secure the number 1 spot. Of course, the number 2 spot I'm giving to the Winnipeg Jets. I think a lot of people were kind of sleeping on Winnipeg heading into the season, not really having a ton of confidence in them, but they have an all-star goaltender in Connor Hellebuyck. They have an elite offense now. Of course, even trading Patrick Laine, as good as he is, Pierre-Luc Dubois has been a terrific fit there. Of course, you still have the Scheifele-Wheeler combo, and then you have a line of Pierre-Luc Dubois playing with Kyle Connor and Nick Ehlers, which has been an incredibly lethal trio for players. So, yes, their blue line could certainly stand to get a little bit better, but I do have confidence that the Jets are going to hang on, likely make some additions to their lineup here in the form of a top 4 defenseman before the playoffs, and I do think this is where they're going to end up finishing here, the number 2 spot. We're going to give the number 3 spot to the Montreal Canadiens. Of course, right now they're sitting in that number 4 spot, but I do think they're only going to continue to get better under new coach Dominic Ducharme. I can see Marc Bergevin making some minor additions to tinker here, add some additional depth. And of course, like I said, this team is one that can be very dangerous offensively. When Carey Price is on his game, he's still an elite goaltender, and their blue line has been chipping in offensively, and it can only continue to get better defensively as well. So I do have confidence of the Habs. Now that leaves the number 4 team being the Edmonton Oilers here. Of course, McDavid and Draisaitl can only get them so far. I do have some concerns over their secondary scoring and to a degree their goaltending. However, I do think Edmonton will be good enough to hang on here for a top 4 spot, beat out teams like Calgary, Vancouver, and Ottawa. I did make a prediction in that video before the season started saying the Ottawa Senators would not be last in this division. As of right now, they currently are, but they've certainly been playing a lot better in the last 3 to 4 weeks compared to the first 3 to 4 weeks. And I do think they will give Calgary and Vancouver a run for their money here and try to get out of the basement. But either way, unfortunately, I see those 3 teams missing the playoffs. If you take a look at the top 4 in the North, of course, that gives us matchups here of the Toronto Maple Leafs versus the Edmonton Oilers. That gives us McDavid versus Matthews, and we get the Jets versus the Montreal Canadiens for another entertaining matchup here. And I am picking the Maple Leafs to go over the Oilers. I think the Leafs are just too deep and too much overall like sounder, full, complete game versus the Oilers are a little bit more one-dimensional. And I think the Montreal Canadiens are going to be beating the Winnipeg Jets. That's a minor upset based on standings, but really 2 versus 3. There's not a great separation there. I think by the time we reach the playoffs, Carey Price will be in full form and give his team a chance to win, and that's going to be the difference. Price will slightly outperform Hellebuck. It's going to be a tight series. It could go to the distance, but I see them squeaking by Winnipeg, and that will give us a Toronto-Montreal final atop the North Division. So for the Maple Leafs and the Habs, we're going to see some key rivalry kind of renewed here based on these new playoff formats. So the Toronto-Montreal series will be another highly entertaining series as we've seen throughout their matchups this year. It could go deep, but I do see, again, the Maple Leafs pulling ahead of Montreal. I don't think the Habs can keep up with the Toronto offense. The Toronto, like I said, the Toronto defense as well, I think has been a lot better this year. And even though Price found his game in the first round was my prediction, I do think he's going to continue to battle here with Freddie Anderson. And it's not even so much a case that Freddie Anderson will outplay Price. It's going to be a case of the Toronto offense just being too potent that they will eventually get to Price and get enough goals to get by the Habs and go to the Final Four. So my prediction to come out of the North is the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, moving on to the East Division. The East Division's pretty tight as well, but I think the 4 teams that we're going to have make it to the playoffs will be starting by the Boston Bruins being in the first place spot. I like Boston's schedule down the stretch here. They're certainly a team that's going to continue to grind away. They always find a way and know how to win, so I still have a lot of confidence in Boston. I think the New York Islanders will be right up there as well. I see the Bruins just basically squeaking by the Islanders for the division lead, but it's going to be really tight and really close. And then, of course, I also have the Washington Capitals in the number 3 spot, followed by the Pittsburgh Penguins in the number 4 spot. I do have the Penguins just barely edging out the Flyers, and it's not so much right now that I think the Penguins are a better team, but the Flyers, I just think, have a tougher schedule. Pittsburgh has a lot more games left against bottom-feeding teams like the Sabres and the Devils, and I think between that and some moves that I do expect Ron Hextall and Brian Burke to make here to get this team ready, I think Pittsburgh will be stronger down the stretch, combined with a weaker schedule against weaker opponents, and I think they will squeak ahead of the Flyers to get into that number 4 spot. So that's obviously going to give us some matchups here of Boston versus Pittsburgh, and then of course we get the Washington Capitals doing battle with the New York Islanders. Now, I don't know if the Penguins can be good enough to get by Boston, though. I do see them getting into the playoffs, but like I said, a lot of that's going to be schedule related. If they don't make a move for a goaltending situation, I think Rask will play Tristan Jarry, and I think the Bruins will get by Pittsburgh in the first round. And when it comes to the Islanders and Capitals, I do have concerns over Capitals goaltending. I'm not sure that they can really get through that Islanders defensive style of play, and I do think the Islanders will squeeze by Ovi and company and go against the Bruins here in the Eastern Division Final. And of course, that gives us Boston versus the New York Islanders, and I think that Islander offense is going to come through more against Boston. The Islander defense is going to shut down David Pastrnak, or at least contain him. I mean, you can't shut him down completely, but I think that we're going to see a scenario unfold that Boston's secondary scoring is not going to be good enough, and the Islanders' defense and goaltending is going to be too good, and they're not going to be able to get by them. So the New York Islanders will come up victorious up top the Eastern Division. Now let's jump over to the Central Division, where we're going to see some more interesting matchups here. We're going to be led by the Tampa Bay Lightning, the defending champs, in first place here. Right now they're atop the division, and I think they're going to remain there, but they do have some serious competition from a team like the Carolina Hurricanes. They're a really good team, and we'll give them a good run here for first place, but I have the Canes going in second, followed by the Florida Panthers in third, and then of course the surprise Chicago Blackhawks in fourth place. The Hawks have been a surprise team, but unfortunately for them, getting to the playoffs is going to be too tough, and I do see their matchup against Tampa in that 1-4 spot just being too much to overcome. The Lightning are still a juggernaut team, and they will be defeating the Chicago Blackhawks in round 1 here, and will face the winner of Carolina, Florida. And even though Florida's been a really solid team this year, unfortunately, I don't see playoff success coming their way. If anything happens to Chris Driedger, I think they could be in trouble, but I do think they'll get to the playoffs based on him remaining healthy. He's a key point here because Bobrovsky's not going to get it done for them. I don't have much confidence there, but they have a great offensive team, and if they can keep scoring and getting the goaltending, they're bound to be successful. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be enough to get by Carolina, though. The Hurricanes have been extremely solid, and I do see them getting by Florida to take on the Tampa Bay Lightning in the Central Division Final in round 2. And I also see them upsetting the Lightning. The Lightning are going to run out of gas. I mean, this is a tough prediction to make. There has to be an upset somewhere. It's rare that we've seen back-to-back Cup winners in the last number of years. Of course, Pittsburgh did it, back 16-17. Hasn't been done since. It was rarely done much before that. So I think after a long, hard battle in last year, winning the Stanley Cup, again having a solid regular season, coming back, getting to the second round, I think the Lightning are just going to run out of gas into the upstart surprise Hurricanes, and they're going to take them down and win the Central Division. That might be a bit of a hot take, and I could be wrong on that, but I know that's where I'm going right now, and we'll see if I'm right or not. Now, lastly here, we get the Western Division. Of course, the Vegas Golden Knights currently in first place, and I don't see anybody knocking them off that perch right now. The Vegas Golden Knights are so solid. I mean, they're going to be really tough to beat in the playoffs as well. The Avalanche, I have them going into second place, followed by the Blues at the number 3 seed, and the number 4 seed, I think the Minnesota Wild will hang on to get there. The Kings are going to really push them and have a shot, but fall just short here in my opinion. I don't see the Ducks or the Sharks coming overly close. The Coyotes maybe will give a bit of a run here, but I don't have a lot of confidence in their abilities right now either. I think Minnesota will hang on and get into that number 4 spot, but unfortunately they're going to run into a juggernaut in Vegas and be swept aside relatively easy. So Vegas wins round 1 without too much trouble. The St. Louis-Colorado series will be really tough, long and hard fought, but I have the Avs coming out on top of that one. And then we have Vegas versus Colorado for the Western Final, and I just don't think Vegas can lose here. I mean, Vegas is just too good to not make it to the Final Four. Colorado will be upset here again. I know they were quite frustrated with not being able to get over that hump, but they're still, I think, another piece or two away from being able to dethrone Vegas in that Western Conference. So, to me, that's where things are at. Vegas will win the Western Division. So that gives us your Final Four teams of Vegas, Toronto, Carolina, and the New York Islanders. And I have them ranked as follows. This, of course, is going to be based on regular season stats. Vegas will grab the number 1 seed. The Toronto Maple Leafs will grab the number 2 seed, followed by the Carolina Hurricanes at number 3, and the New York Islanders at number 4. Gives us your matchups of Vegas versus the Islanders and Toronto versus the Hurricanes. Now, can the Islanders take down the Vegas Golden Knights? I don't think they can. I mean, Marc-Andre Fleury and Robin Lehner is the best goaltending tandem in the NHL. And as much as the Islanders are strong defensively, it will contain Vegas to a degree. I just don't think they're going to be able to get through Vegas' defense and goaltending to get enough goals to get it done. I say Vegas takes out the Islanders and goes on to play for the Stanley Cup here for the second time in their short existence in the NHL. And on the other side, we've got the Toronto Maple Leafs doing battle with the Carolina Hurricanes. And yes, I think the Maple Leafs, again, are going to take out Carolina. That's going to be the end of the road for the Hurricanes. There's another strong finish here in the playoffs, take them to the Final Four, but that's as far as they're going to go. I think this is going to be the year that Toronto goes all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals and will do battle with another juggernaut here in the Vegas Golden Knights. So it'll be the first time we've seen a Canadian team in the final in a long time. Will this be the year that the Stanley Cup returns to Canada? Yes, it will. I'm picking the Toronto Maple Leafs in somewhat of an upset over Vegas to take this year's 2021 NHL Stanley Cup. Now, it's unfortunate for the long-suffering Leaf fans who have been waiting 54 years for a Stanley Cup victory that there won't be fans in attendance. If there are games in Toronto, at least at this point, it's very unlikely that we'll see playoffs with fans in Canada. I mean, you never know. Things could change, but right now it's looking like it won't be. But still, I think this is the year that the 54-year drought ends and the Stanley Cup returns to Canada, and Toronto is going to be the team to get it done. I mean, they have so much firepower. They're so much better defensively now. I think if they have a chance, this is the year with the current format that they can go deeper into the playoffs and have a chance. I know they didn't have the playoff success before, and this will be the first time winning really anything in the playoffs, but with the current format, it certainly favors them to make it out of the North Division and get to the Final Four. When you go that far deep in the playoffs, really anything can happen. And I think this could be the year that they get it done. So let me know your thoughts and your predictions down in the comments, and we'll discuss further. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing and turning on your notifications so you don't miss any future content. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.